Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible. Ma'am, Honorable Dr. Pradeep Jawandia sir has already joined. Sir, shall we start, sir?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay, sir.
Audible?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for your confirmation, sir. Madam, you can proceed.
Good afternoon to all respected dignitaries, invited guests, and faculty members, research scholars. It's my immense pleasure to heartily welcome everyone on behalf of Research and Development Cell of P.R. Patil College of Engineering and Management, Amravati. I, Professor Parul Nemade, welcome you all for the 5th day of ISTE approved 1 week online FDP on research ethics, IPR, and publishing, organized from 20 Feb 2023 to 25th February. First and foremost, I welcome Honorable Shri Praveen Kumarji Pote, President, and Honorable Mr. Shreyas Kumar Pote, Vice President of PR Pote Party Education and Welfare Trust Group of Educational Institute, Amravati. I also warmly welcome Honorable Dr. D.T. Ingule, Principal, and Honorable Dr. Mohammad Zubair, Vice President of PR Pote Party Education and Welfare Trust Group of Educational Institute, Amravati. I extend my warm welcome and gratitude towards our today's keynote speaker, Dr. Pradeep M. Zavandia, from Pankaj Laddat Institute of Technology and Management Studies, Buldhana. I also extend my warm welcome to all valuable and distinguished guests, research experts, all the respected dean, HOD of various departments and faculty members for this FDP, and also thank them for giving a huge response to this FDP. Now, a brief introduction to the today's speaker, Dr. Pradeep M. Zavandia, sir. Dr. Pradeep M. Zavandia has been working as a principal in Pankaj Laddat Institute of Technology and Management Studies, Buldhana. He has been involved in academics and administrator for the last 29 years. He has completed his diploma in Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering in 1990s from MSVTE. Now, also he has completed Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Engineering in 1993 from SGBAU. In 2021. In 2011, he has completed MBA in 2011 from Yashwantrao Chauhan Maharashtra Open University in 2012. He is a senior member of IEEE, member of Computer Society of India, member of Indian Society for Technical Education, fellow of ITTI, fellow of IEI, and several other organizations. He was invited speaker and delivered a talk on ISTE for rural development during 54th Annual Technical Convention of ITTE, held on 24th and 25th September 2011 at Ahmedabad. He has involved in various academic and research activities. He has attained and served as a reviewer for several national and international seminars, conferences, and presented numerous research papers, and also publishes research architects in national and international journals. He is a member of curriculum development committees of various universities and autonomous college. And his area of research specialization in computer networks, network security, mobile ad hoc networking and security. He is a recognized supervisor for computer science and engineering, as well as for information technology in Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University. as a 7th research scholars avoided as a PhD under his supervision. Now, I requested Dr. Pradeep Javandia sir to continue with his topic on research ethics, IPR, and publishing. Please, sir.
Thank you, madam, for the introduction which is given for me. I would like to thank for that. First of all, it's an immense pleasure for me that I would like to appreciate and thank the PR Patil College of Engineering and Management that they have taken or chosen a particular topic for 1 week online FDP on research methodology and use of ICT tools, and it is ISTE approved. So I would like to thank to the management, even the principal, and the most important, the core team which is working for this from 20th of Feb, the head of department of AIDS, Dr. Abhay and Dr. Ajay Gadicha sir. Then I hope that the two coordinators are there, Sontakya madam and Chajed madam, and the complete team. Today, I do have an opportunity to interact with all the participants as far as this particular 1 week IST approved FDP on research methodology. I hope that already the 4 days different experts, they have conducted the session, and today is the 5th day. My first lookout is that I hope that this particularly FDP is being conducted for the participants of research scholar particularly, and in general for all, because it is much more going to get benefited as far as the research scholar is concerned, and that may be the intention as far as this particular FDP is concerned. Madam, I have shared the slides. Is it visible? Somebody has to respond.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
It is visible. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So as it is being rightly pointed out, the topic for today's session is research ethics, IPR, and publishing. So this topic I have considered for today's session as being rightly being talked with Dr. Ajay Gadicha sir, that when it comes to the curriculum of research methodology as far as research scholar, PhD research scholar for Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University, Amravati, this is basically a 5th unit, and it was expected that previous 4 units might have been covered in 4 days. Now this is a 5th unit, basically the comprising research ethics, IPR, and publishing. So the time which is being given, I hope that up to 5:30 we can go. Yes. And many topics are there to be covered within this. So some I'm going to introduce in detail, but some I have to skip, and I will provide this PowerPoint so that all the participants can go through it in details afterwards once the session is over. But I will try to cover everything as far as research ethics is concerned, IPR is concerned, and publishing is concerned. So to start with,
Hello.
Hello. With, yes.
Hello. Sir, have you changed the slide? It is not, the slides are not changing on the screen.
I had changed the slide. It is not changing.
No, it is not visible. Sir, only first slide is visible. The complete window.
Just a minute. Just give me a few seconds. Let me check.
Sir, first start your slideshow. Then after that, share that slideshow instead of sharing the screen.
Just a minute.
You have to stop sharing first, start the slideshow, and then share it.
Madam, is it visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible perfectly.
Second slide has came. Ajay sir?
No, sir. It is stick to the second
First.
slide, third slide.
Third slide. Now it is moving.
No,
Not
no,
moving, sir.
not moving, sir.
Fourth
Sir,
is.
no, sir. You go to stop sharing,
Yes.
then again click on share screen,
So that is what I am doing.
and in a similar window, sir, two options are there. First one is the slide which you are going to be shared it with the help of presentation, and second one is a slideshow. Slideshow of your presentation.
Yeah. Now,
Yes, exactly, sir. Shared, sir. Screen shared, sir. Perfectly.
but it is not moving now. The slideshow, is it moving?
Yes. It is moving, sir. Perfectly.
Okay.
Yes. It is okay, sir. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So as I mentioned, the topics which I am going to cover is the research ethics, and then we'll talk about IPR, that is intellectual property rights, and then publishing. So what exactly we are going to cover at the end of this presentation, I would like to mention that in the beginning itself. So participant will be able to understand these are the topics. Define the stakeholder in research and describe the ethical issues. Second will be create awareness about intellectual property rights and patents. Third will be how to write the patent, then how to write the research paper, then learn about writing the research paper, and know about the plagiarism tools. So these are the topics which we are going to cover at the end of presentation. These are the things will be covered. Now coming to the, as three different heads are there. So first head is related to the ethics. So under ethics, there are two issues that we are going to see. One is the stakeholders in research, and then what are the ethical issues related to these stakeholders in research. That is the first point that we are going to see. Then second point is going to talk about the intellectual property rights. So under that, intellectual property rights, then what is patent law, then techniques of writing a patent, patent filing procedure, then technology transfer, copyright, then what is royalty, and at the end, trade related aspect of intellectual property rights. And the third heading, and under that subheadings are design of research paper, citation, acknowledgement, plagiarism tools, research matrices, reproducibility, and accountability. So in short, if you could see that the three major heading, and it has subheadings, it is going to cover the fifth unit of research methodology as far as PhD research scholar of Sant Gadge Baba Amrut University for Science and Technology. So the very first point, ethics, and under that, as you have mentioned, ethical issues related to the stakeholders in research and ethical issues. So first of all, we will define what is ethics. According to the College Dictionary, ethical means in accordance with the principle of conduct that are considered correct, especially those of a given profession or group. So in general, we people are already knowing what is ethics. Means if some well-defined procedures or some correct procedures which we used to follow for a specific profession or for a specific group, and that comes under the ethics. Now, there are many stakeholders in research, whether it is quantitative or qualitative. It is important to look at ethical issues in relation to each of them. The various stakeholders in research activities are. So what are the categories of stakeholder as far as the research is concerned? That is being defined over here. The very first category, if we could see, the research participant or subjects. Then the second category is the researcher. And the third category is the funding body, or normally we used to say the funding organization. So what we can observe here, stakeholders in research are being divided into three categories. First is the research participant or the subject itself. Second is the researcher, and the third is the organization which is going to support that research. Now we will see one by one in detail what are these. So first, the research participant or subject who should be considered as a research participant varies from profession to profession. Generally, all those with a direct and indirect involvement in the research study are considered as a research participant as stakeholders. In addition, those who are likely to be affected by the findings of a study are also considered as a stakeholders. In education, subjects include students, teachers, and perhaps the community at large who participate in educational research activities. Similarly, in any discipline in which a research activity is undertaken, those from whom information is collected or those who are studied by a researcher become participant of the study. So these are the different, what we can say that a categories of participants or subjects. So it could be a subject like education, it could be a subject of any field or any domain, and the people, those who are going to involve into this research process will be a participant as far as research is concerned. Then the second category is the researcher. So who is the researcher? Researchers constitute the category of stakeholders. Anyone who collect information for a specific purpose of understanding, consolidation, enhancement, and development of professional knowledge, adhering to accepted code of conduct is a researcher. He or she may represent any academic discipline. So this is the second category as far as researcher stakeholder is concerned. And the third category, as I mentioned, that the funding body or funding organization responsible for financing the research activity fall into the third category of stakeholder. Most research is carried out using funds provided by business organization, pharmaceutical companies, service institution, maybe government, semi-government or voluntary, research bodies and or academic institution. And the third, funds are given for a specific purposes. So in this way, we have categorized the stakeholder into three different categories. First is the participant or subject, second is the researcher, and the third is the funding body or the funding organization. Now, second part of the first point, main heading, that is ethical issues. Now, as we have seen, the three different stakeholders are there. So definitely for three different stakeholders, what are the different ethical issues are to be considered as far as stakeholder is concerned. So these are the 3 points that we are going to see. So first point is related to the ethical issues considered concerning the first stakeholder, that is research participant. Then the second point is ethical issues to consider relating to the researcher, that is the second category of stakeholder. And the third point, ethical issues regarding the sponsoring organization, that is the third category of stakeholder. So we will see one by one. So in this, the very first one, there are many ethical issues to consider in relation to the participant of a research activity. So now what are the issues that we are going to see? Ethical issues considered concerning research participants. So very first we can see that the collection of information, then seeking the consent, providing incentives, seeking sensitive information, the possibility of causing harm to participant, and maintaining confidentiality. In all, if we could see, the 6 different headings are there, which is related to ethical issues when it comes to considering the concerning research participant. Now we'll see one by one. As far as collecting information is concerned, one could ask, why should a respondent give any information to a researcher? Is it ethical to disturb an individual? Even if you ask permission before asking question, why should a person give you his or her time? Your request for information may create anxiety or put pressure on a respondent. Is this ethical? But the above question display a naive attitude. So the author believes that if this attitude had been adopted, there would have been no progress in the world. Research is required in order to improve conditions. So provided any piece of research is likely to help society directly or indirectly, it is acceptable to ask question if you first obtain the respondent informed consent. Before you begin collecting information, you must consider the relevance and usefulness of the research you are undertaking and be able to convince others of this also. So when some of maybe the research scholar in this audience for today's FDP, if they are doing research on the basis of collection of information, mostly the students or the research scholar, those who are doing maybe a MBA or management research, or maybe a commerce research, they may be using this type of information. They have to collect the information, and on the basis of survey, on the basis of collected information, they have to after gathering this particular information, they have to process that information, and something which is being expected are getting extracted from the information which is being collected from different peoples who are lying within the society. And when it comes to dealing with a particular domain, again, the researcher has to find out from where the information is to collect, and he or she has to find out the domain people of similar kind of knowledge, and then they have to collect the information. But ultimately, it depends upon the respondent who is going to provide the information. Now, when it comes to the collection of information, first of all, you have to get the consent of a person. Mostly, I have seen the examples of the MBA, the management graduates or management postgraduate, those who are doing the research in case of management, they used to collect the information. Even the library peoples are going to collect the information. They are making the survey. On the basis of survey, even the marketing people, those who are making the survey, even the social work research scholar, they are making the survey. So they have to collect the information from different sources. And when they are going to collect the information from the different sources, they have to convince the respondent first about the collection of information. So that is what the first point. Then the second is seeking the consent. Now, without getting the consent of a person, you doesn't get any information. So in every discipline, it is considered unethical to collect information without the knowledge of participant and their express willingness and informed consent. So first of all, if you would like to have any information, so first you have to get a consent of a person who is authorized to provide you the correct information. And if you doesn't get consent of a particular person who is authorized to provide the information, then it is normally being considered unethical to collect such type of information. So informed consent implies that subjects are made adequately aware of the type of information you want from them, why the information is being sought, what purposes it will be put to, how they are expected to participate in the study, and how it will directly or indirectly affect them. It is important that the consent should also be voluntary and without pressure of any kind. So one cannot pressurize anybody. It is a consent. When we are using the terminology consent, means it should be by willingness. It should come by willingness. Then only we can have a proper information as far as research is concerned. Then the third is providing incentives. Is it ethical to provide incentive to respondent to share information with you? Some researchers provide incentive to participants for their participation in a study, feeling this to be quite proper as participants are giving their time. Others think that offering of inducement is unethical. In the author's experience, most people do not participate in a study because of incentives, but because they realize the importance of the study. Therefore, giving a small gift after having obtained your information as a token of appreciation is in author's opinion not ethical. However, giving a present before data collection is unethical. So this is how it is to be dealt with such type of practices that is there. Then next is seeking sensitive information. Now this is normally happens when it comes to some research laboratory or some clinical laboratory where the specific patient's data is available with in consideration with healthcare system. So this is a sensitive information. So seeking such type of sensitive information is to be dealt with in a different way. So certain types of information can be regarded as sensitive or confidential by some people, and thus an invasion of privacy. Asking for this information may upset or embarrass a respondent. For most people, questions on sexual behavior, drug use, and shoplifting are intrusive. Even questions on marital status, income, and age may be considered to be an invasion of privacy by some. In collecting data, you need to be careful about the sensitivities of your respondent. The dilemma you face as a researcher is whether you should ask sensitive and intrusive questions. In the author's opinion, it is not unethical to ask such questions, provided that you clearly and frankly tell your respondent the type of information you are going to ask and give them sufficient time to decide if they want to share the information with you without any major inducement. So that altogether depends, it is a mutual understanding between the respondent and researcher. If respondent is agreed to provide the information, then you can have it. Otherwise, it is unethical. So it depends how you convince, or what kind of relations, or what kind of belongingness that you should have with a person from whom you are expecting the sensitive information. Altogether, it depends upon the kind of pre-intimation that you are given to a person from whom you are seeking the information. And once he or she has prepared the mind to provide you the information, then definitely it will be provided to you and it will be ethical. But one cannot pressure to a person for seeking of information, and that to a sensitive information. Then the possibility of causing harms to participant. So is the research going to harm participant in any way? Harm includes not only hazardous medical experiment, but also any social research that might involve such things as discomfort, anxiety, harassment, invasion of privacy, or demeaning or dehumanizing procedures. When you collect data from respondent or involve subjects in an experiment, you need to examine carefully whether their involvement is likely to harm them in any way. If it is, you must make sure that the risk is minimal. It is unethical if the way you seek information creates anxiety or harassment, and if you think it may happen, you need to take steps to prevent this. So these are the ethical issues. Next is related to the maintaining confidentiality. Once you receive any information, once you take the consent, and when you are receiving the information, if a respondent is asking you to maintain the confidentiality of the information, then it is a responsibility of a researcher to maintain the confidentiality, because it is being given for a research purpose and for a specific purpose. So it is the responsibility of a researcher to maintain the confidentiality of that information. So sharing information about a respondent with others for purposes other than research is unethical. It is unethical to identify an individual respondent and the information provided by him or her. Therefore, you need to ensure that after the information has been collected, its source cannot be identified. In certain types of study, you might need to visit respondent repeatedly, in which case you will have to identify them until the completion of your visits. It is unethical to be negligent in not protecting the confidentiality and anonymity of the information gathered from your respondent. If you are doing research for someone else, you need to make sure that confidentiality is maintained by this party as well. So these are some of the ethical practices to be followed once you acquire the information from a respondent. It is a responsibility of researcher. Now, it could be possible a third party can also have information for another researcher. Then it is a responsibility of third party that researcher should not leak this particular information to anyone else, as it is being a confidential information. So that is ethical practice to be maintained when it comes to the collection of information. Now the second issue, that is ethical issues considered to relating to the researcher. First, we have seen to the subjects or participant. Now second category is related to the researcher. Now what the researcher has to do as far as ethical issues is concerned. So the very first point, if we could see that here it is avoiding the bias. Then the second is provision or deprivation of a treatment. Third is using an appropriate research methodology. Fourth is incorrect reporting. And the fifth one is inappropriate use of the information. So these are the 5 ethical issues to be considered by the researcher when they are dealing with the research. So we will see one by one. So first is avoiding bias. Bias on the part of researchers is unethical. As the moment when we use the terminology bias, so we know what is the meaning of it. And if we make a bias while collecting the information as far as ethics is concerned, definitely your research is not going to lead for a proper result. if it is a biased information. So there should not be bias. There should be what we used to say, that it is ethical, that no person or no respondent should be biased on a particular information. Everybody should be treated in the similar way. Then only your actual what research that you are doing will provide you the proper result. Otherwise, it will be a biased information and it may lead to some conclusion which is not expected as far as the research is concerned. So that is why the bias is different from subjectivity. Subjectivity is related to your educational background, training and competence in research, and your philosophical perspective. Bias is deliberate attempt either to hide what you have found in your study or to highlight something disproportionately to its true existence. It is absolutely unethical to introduce bias into research activity. That is what I said. It is absolutely unethical to introduce bias into research activity. Then whatever result or conclusion that you are making on the basis of research, it may lead to some other conclusions. So if you are unable to control your bias, you should not be engaging in the research. It is the bias that is unethical and not the subjectivity. So that is what the first thing. As far as the researcher is concerned, what are the ethical issues? Then the second is provision or deprivation of a treatment. When testing an intervention or a treatment, a researcher usually adopts a controlled experiment design. In such studies, is it ethical to provide a study population with an intervention or treatment that has not been conclusively proven effective or beneficial? If you are providing an intervention that may not be effective, is this ethical? Is it ethical to deprive the control group of a treatment even if it may prove to be only slightly effective? As a researcher, you need to be aware of these ethical issues. However, it is usually accepted that deprivation of a trial treatment to a control group is not unethical, as in the absence of this, the study can never establish the effectiveness of a treatment which may deprive many others of its possible benefits. So there are no simple answers to these dilemmas. Ensuring informed consent, minimum risk, and frank discussion as to the implications of participation in the study may help to resolve some of these ethical issues. So that is also to be considered, that there should not be any provision or deprivation of a treatment. It should be what normally the treatment which is being given, it is not like a particular group is being considered in a specific way and another group is being considered in another way. So that should not happen. If it is going to happen, then it is unethical, and definitely the result which is coming out of the research may not be proper. Then next is using inappropriate research methodology. A researcher has an obligation to use appropriate methodology within his or her knowledge base in conducting a study. It is unethical to use deliberately a method or procedure you know to be inappropriate to prove or disprove something that you want to, such as by selecting a highly biased sample, using an invalid instrument, or by drawing wrong conclusion. Sometimes it happens when we are dealing with any research problem. Sometimes we may deal with a particular, we are being forced to make use of particular instrument, or sometimes our conscious or our mindset is very much fixed that I should use this method, then only I will get the result, and it may not be relevant. So everything is to be appropriate as far as the research is concerned. Then only the research is going to conclude in a proper result. Otherwise, it may lead to wrong conclusion, and that is not the intention or the purpose of research. Next is incorrect reporting. To report the findings in a way that changes or slants them to serve your own or someone else's interest is unethical. Correct and unbiased reporting of the findings are important characteristics of ethical research practice. So this is very important, correct and unbiased reporting of the findings. So when we are doing any experiment on the basis of certain data or certain information or a certain values, and then whatever will be the, after doing that experiment, the correct and unbiased reporting has to be there, the whatever will be the finding, and that is going to provide the important characteristics of that ethical research practice. And the next is inappropriate use of the information. How will the information obtained from respondent be used by the researcher? The use of information in way that directly or indirectly affect respondent adversely is unethical. Can information be used adversely to affect the study population? If so, how can the study population be protected? As a researcher, you need to consider and resolve these issues. Sometimes it is possible to harm individuals in the process of achieving benefits for organization. So should you ask the respondent for information that is likely to be used against them? If you do, the information may be used against them. And if you do not, the organization may not be able to derive the benefits of restructuring. So in the author's opinion, it is ethical to ask questions, provided you tell respondent of the potential use of the information, including the possibility of its being used against some of them, and you let them decide if they want to participate. So it's very simple. When we are taking information from anybody or any person who is going to involve in the research, as we are using the terminology over here as a respondent, because we are expecting the information from a person. So who will be the respondent? So ultimate aim is that the respondent is to be confirm about what is going to happen. If they are going to get harmed because of the information they are providing, then it is to be pre-intimated to the respondent. If I am taking your information, this may happen, or this is the possibility of being used. It may go to against of you. So if it is well known in advance to a respondent, then it is ethical. Otherwise, if it is not known and if you are taking the information, making use of it, and then something is going to happen worse as far as the respondent is concerned, then it is unethical. So first, getting a conformity of the respondent to get participated into the research is very important. If it is okay, if the respondent is saying that, okay, I am ready with the research as a participant, so then it is ethical as far as collection of information from the respondent. And the now third category of stakeholder, and what are the ethical issues to be dealt with. So ethical issues regarding the sponsoring organization or funding agencies. So what are the ethical issues? The first is restrictions imposed by the sponsoring organization. So if you are taking any information or maybe a funding from any sponsoring organization, if they are imposing certain restrictions at the time of research, then that is to be followed. That is ethical practice. And the second is the misuse of information. If some organization providing you the funding and providing you the facility for the research, and if you are misusing of information, then also it is unethical practices as far as sponsoring organization is concerned. So we will see one by one. So restrictions imposed by the sponsoring organization. Most research in the social sciences is carried out using funds provided by sponsoring organization for a specific purpose. The funds may be given to develop a program or evaluated to examine its effectiveness and efficiency, to study the impact of a policy, to test a product, to study the behavior of a group or community, or to study a phenomena, issue, or attitude. Sometimes there may be direct or indirect controls exercised by sponsoring organization. They may select the methodology, prohibit the publication of what was found, or impose other restrictions on the research that may stand in the way of obtaining and disseminating accurate information. Both the imposition and acceptance of these controls and restrictions are unethical, as they constitute interference and could amount to the sponsoring organization tailoring research finding to meet its vested interest. So that is what, if some organization you are taking as a funding agency, and you, as a researcher, some research is being carried out, but if it is not being allowed from the funding agency to disclose the result which you are generated, or to get utilize those results for your further purposes, then it is not ethical. Then getting a funding from any organization which is going to restrict for the research, it is not ethical, and that is not expected also. Then the second part is the misuse of information. So how is the sponsoring body going to use the information? How is this likely to affect the study population? Sometimes sponsoring organization use a research as a pretext for obtaining a management's agenda. It is unethical to let your research be used as a reason for justifying management decisions when the research findings do not support them. However, it is recognized that it may be extremely difficult or even impossible for a researcher to prevent this from happening. Because when a researcher who is going to make a research, and if he or she is being funded by some funding agency, so definitely a person or the organization who is going to provide you the financial assets as a support for the researcher, they may impose the restriction, and then in that case it becomes very difficult, and sometimes it is even impossible for a researcher to prevent this from happening, and that is what comes under the unethical practices. So this is what the first part that we have seen as far as the ethical issues related to the different, first we have seen the different stakeholders which is relating to the research, and then we have seen what are the different issues which is related to those stakeholders. Now we are coming to the second heading, which is related to the IPR, that is intellectual property rights. And at the beginning, I have mentioned what are the topics which is going to be covered. The first is what is IPR, patent law, techniques of writing a patent, patent filing procedure, technology transfer, copyright, royalty, trade-related aspects of IPR. So first we'll see what is IPR. IPR refers to creation of the mind, such as invention, literary and artistic work, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce. IP is protected in law by, for example, patent, copyrights, and trademarks, which enable people to earn recognition or financial benefit from what they invent or create. By striking the right balance between the interests of innovators and the wider public interest, the IP system aims to foster an environment in which creativity and innovation can flourish. Intellectual property rights are the rights given to the person over the creation of their minds. They usually given the creator an exclusive right over the use of his or her creation for a certain period of time. So this is what, in short, what we can say, that the inventions and innovations which we used to do after doing a research, that can be protected in terms of intellectual property rights, and these are supposed to get registered. See, the government of India has a provision, or even the IPR is again categorized into two ways. It could be national or it could be international also. If the research is dealing with the national domain, then it could get registered at the national level. If it is research is of international level, then even we can think of protecting our research with the help of international intellectual property rights. So these are the possibilities by which our research can be protected with the help of IPR. Now, then the next is a patent. Patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention, which is a product or a process that provides, in general, a new way of doing something or offers a new technical solution to a problem. To get a patent, technical information about the invention must be disclosed to the public in a patent application. The patentability requirement in India is the invention should be novel, inventive, and capable of industrial applicable. In principle, the patent owner has the exclusive right to prevent or stop others from commercially exploiting the patented invention. Patents are territorial rights, and the protection is granted for a limited period, generally 20 years from the filing date of the application. And the following are not inventions, so cannot be patented. What are not being patented? Here we can see that contrary to natural laws, contrary to public order or morality, scientific theory or abstract theory, new forms, properties of known substance, admixture of substance, rearrangement of known devices, method of agriculture, method of treatment, plant or animal part, business method or computer program, copyrightable product, method of playing game, presentation of information, topography of integrated circuits. These are all not patentable. These are not the inventions, so they are not patentable. Now, what is research? Here we can see that the research is defined first, the title of invention, Then the second is field of invention, then background of invention with regard to the drawback associated with known art, then object of invention, then statement of invention, summary of invention, a brief descriptive of the accompanying drawing, detailed description of the invention with reference to drawing examples, and then there will be a claims, figures, abstract. So this is a sequence of steps that is to be followed for a research. Here we will see one by one. So first of all, what is the first is the title of invention. So the title of invention should reflect the main art of the invention. It should be precise, meaningful, and should be normally within 15 words. A title can be used for more than one invention. Then the next is field of invention. Field of invention should describe the scope of the invention and subject matter of the invention on which it relates. Basically, it should be crisp and clear so that the examiner of patent easily understands the nature of the invention and classifies the technology according to its generation. Then background of invention with regard to the drawback associated with the known arts. So this section describes the state of the art in the particular technical area to which the patent relates and what problems remain to be solved or disadvantages accompanying the prior art solution. It is always better to mention the status of the closest technology, experiment, patents, and patent application in this section. Next is object of invention. So object of invention should clearly reflect the advantages of the invention. It should describe the solution of the existing technical problem associated with the existing field of art. Next is each and every object and advantages of the invention should be described in a separate sentence. Basically, this portion is a comparative analysis of the inventive technology over the existing one. Then the next is statement of invention. Statement of invention describes the exact novel features of the invention. It should clearly reflect the inventive features of the invention over the existing one. This part is very useful to declare inventiveness of the invention and also relates exactly to independent claims and to complement the omnibus claim in situations of infringement proceedings. And finally, a summary of invention. Summary of invention describes a broad overview of the invention and thus provide a structure for understanding the detailed description and claim sections of the specification. The summary of the invention describes the invention overall. Example, the purpose of the invention, problem solved, advantages offered, and so forth. Then the brief description of the accompanying drawing. The brief description of drawing includes a written description of the invention that explains how to make and use it. It should point the reference numerals used in the drawing and should be specific. The details should be sufficient enough for a person skilled in the art to understand and perform the invention. Then next is detailed description of the invention with reference to drawing and example. The detailed description describes in detail what the invention is and how it is made and used. Examples showing how the invention works in a particular application may or may not be present. It should reflect the complete picture of the invention and should be sufficient for a person skilled in the art to perform the invention by developing necessary technical know-how. And the next is claim. So claim is very important when it comes to the patent. When we are filing a patent, so all these details which we have seen is very important and it goes in a sequence of steps or sections and it should continue in the similar pattern the way it is being defined. Now the next is the claim. So claims are the essence of a patent. The claims define the invention which the inventor holds as his exclusive property and has the right to exclude others from making, using, and selling. The claims specify the scope of ownership in a piece of property, that is intellectual property. These claims are paramount importance in both patent prosecution in the patent office and patent litigation in the courts. Therefore, during claim drafting, the choice of words used in the patent claims should be dealt in a great understanding and thought. A patent claim is composed of three parts. First is preamble or introductory phase, prior art, name of the things to be claimed. Then the second is main body of the claim or inventive part of the claim, define the parts and how they work. And the third is transition that connect the preamble and the body. Now, what are the claims? There are many types of claims used in the patent specification and are differentiated as below. So now here we can see that the different types of claims are there. So the first is independent claim, then dependent claim, omnibus claim, product claim, process claim, apparatus claim, use claim. Now here we can find out that after doing some research, and if my idea, if it is a patentable, then I have to see that in which category the claim could be made, whether it is an independent claim or dependent claim, or it is an omnibus claim, or if we are defined some product, then it could be a product claim, or it is simply a process, then it could be a process claim, or if it is some apparatus which is being defined for a particular purpose, then it could go under the apparatus claim, or even it could be an idea, so it could be utilized for some specific purpose, then it could be a use claim. So we have to see one by one here the types of claim. Independent claim, the claim which covers all the significant characteristics of the invention is called independent claim. Generally, the first claim is independent claim, which reflects the whole picture of the invention. Then the dependent claim, the claim which depends on a claim or several claims is called dependent claim. Generally, the subsequent claims of an independent claim are dependent claim. Then next, third category is the omnibus claim. Omnibus claim is used to broaden the scope of the invention beyond the claim section. In other words, omnibus claim the other parts of the invention which is disclosed in the specification or drawing, but not claim in the above mentioned claims. The words such as substantially as described, or substantially as described with reference to drawing, or substantially as described herein are commonly used to claim as omnibus claim. So, if you could see independent claim and dependent claim, as independent claim, it is particularly dealing with the significant characteristics of the invention. Dependent claim is based on the independent claim. But when it comes to the omnibus claim, it is going to provide you the complete details of that particular product, process, whatsoever it may be, along with, as it is being mentioned, substantially as described, or it could be substantially as described with reference to the drawing, or it could be substantially as described herein. So in detail, if it is being provided, such type of claim is being called as omnibus claim. Then, as I mentioned, the product claim, the claim which claims the actual product of the invention is called product claim. For example, a chemical compound used as a pharmaceuticals, composition mixtures such as alloy, food, drink. So that is what a product claim. Then next is the process claim. The claim which claims a new process or method to achieve the desired result is called a process claim. For example, methods of preparation, methods of analysis, method of treatment. So any method or any process which is being a new process or new method which is being defined, so then it covers under the process claim. Next is apparatus claim. The product claim for a device or a system or an article is called apparatus claim. And the last is use claim. The process claim for the use of product or application of the process is called use claim. Then the next is the figures. It shall be on A4 size sheet with a clear margin of at least 4 centimeter on top and left hand, and 3 centimeter at the bottom and right hand of every sheet. So how to write the patent? That is what, how to draw the drawings. Specifications are being provided. Dimensions shall not be marked on the drawing. Drawing shall be sequentially or systematically numbered at the right hand bottom corner. Then the next is abstract. It should not be more than 150 words. It should tell which technical field the innovation belongs, technical problem to which the invention relates, and the solution to the problems. It should also tell the end users of the innovation. Now, next is the patent. A patent is right granted to an individual or enterprise by the government which excludes other from making, using, selling, or importing the patented product or process without prior approval. Patent filing or patent registration is the first step an inventor takes to protect his or her invention from being misused. Now, here we can see that the patent filing procedures, the very first step is we have to write down the provisional specification. Then the second, here we can see that the filling complete specification. Now this is online process which is there, filling complete specification. Then the second step is completing the specification, and then it is going to be checked whether the it is fulfilling all the specification, then if it is not fulfilling, the application is going to be abandoned. If it is fulfilling all the applications, then application after 18 months, it is going to get publication of the application is going to take place. Once the publication of application is accepted, then we have to make for request for examination, and it is the patent is going to get examined, and then here we can see that examination is filed, or there could be another possibilities if it is being notified. Then again, if there is some lacuna in the examination, then it is application is abandoned. But if it is okay, then examination is being filed and FEI report is going to get generated. And then once the this FER report is being generated, then the researcher, those who has made the application file for patent, they are being called for the hearing. And after getting their hearing, then there is another possibilities which is there. There could be either a grant of patent will be there, order for grant of patent, or there could be refusal if the hearing is not proper. And if the hearing is not proper, then again the 3-month duration time is being given to the researcher for appeal against the order. Or if it is already being granted, then the patent number is being allocated. So this is the standard procedure which is being followed for filing an application for the patent, and it goes in a sequence, and finally it reaches to the allocation of the patent. Now next is the technology transfer. As we have seen the patent now, what is technology transfer? So assignment of technological intellectual property developed and generated in one place to another through legal means such as technology licensing or franchising. The process of skill transferring, knowledge, technologies, methods of manufacturing, sample of manufacturing and facilities among governments and other institutions to ensure that scientific and technological developments are accessible to a wider range of users who can then further develop and exploit the technology into new product, processes, application, materials, or services. Technology transfer is a collective term for the mechanism and processes that enable the development of a product or a technology used to manufacture products from the knowledge form in PROs, public research organization. Now, in short, I will elaborate in brief what exactly is the technology transfer. Suppose we people are dealing in academic institution, and we have done some research, and that research is finally being converted into a patent. Now, if this patent is useful for some industry, then once this patent is being registered, then if it is being useful for some industry, industry can purchase or can expect that patent from us, and it could be sold. And that is a possibility between the two person, the researcher and the industry. The researcher means what? Who has already filed a patent and he has granted a patent, but that patent is useful for some industry, and industry would like to make a product of that patent as a market opportunity. So in that case, there is a possibility of transferring the technology from researcher into the industry, and this could be a mutual understanding that is going to take place, and this is what called as a technology transfer. Now, what is this process? How this is going to be made out? So the transfer process of technology can be coupled to the general innovation process. The first step can be defined as follows: identifying appropriate technology, evaluate the technology, secure the technology, protect the technology, produce prototype, obtain technology awareness training, and product specific training. So in this way, these are the steps to be followed while transferring the technology from one end to another end. So technology transfer process, in order to apply these steps in a more general environment, Cook and Mays define the major steps of technology transfer process as being: first is searching, second is finding, evaluating, acquiring, customizing, and operating. So here we can see that there are three main key mechanisms or models of technology transfer from public research organization to industry. So sponsored research, agreements to order research. This refers to application-oriented research which is ordered and funded by the relevant industry under condition that will assure it of a license to use the product of the research as stated in the agreement. Then the second is commercialization of IPR through license agreement. So filing of a patent application and the following formal grant of the patent is legal registration of ownership of the intellectual property in inventions. So the patent owner has a legal right to prevent and stop any unpermitted make, use or sell of a product or service that infringes the patent. There are three main key mechanisms or model. So the third is what we are going to see is the creating a new company. The third mechanism is the model of a new company established on the basis of university technologies, also known as the spin-offs. This refers to startup companies when a seasoned entrepreneur backed by an external body decides to develop certain research result into a product. Now, we have completed the technology transfer. Now coming to the next IPR is the copyright. So what is copyright? Copyright is nothing but, or author's right is a legal term used to describe the rights that creators have over their literary and artistic work. Works covered by copyright range from books, the books which we are writing, musics, even the paintings, sculpture and films, or computer programs, databases, advertisements, maps, and technical drawings. All these intellectual properties are being covered under the copyrights. What can be protected using copyright? Exhaustive list of work covered by copyright are usually not to be found in legislation. Nonetheless, broadly speaking, works commonly protected by copyright throughout the world include literary works such as novels, poems, plays, reference works, newspaper article, computer program, databases, films, musical composition, choreography, artistic works such as painting, drawing, photographs, and sculpture, architecture, advertisement, maps, technical drawings. All these are being covered under the heading of copyright. Copyright protection extends only to the expression, not to ideas, procedures, and methods of operations or mathematical concepts such as such. Copyright may or may not be available for a number of objects such as titles, slogans, or logos, depending on whether they contain sufficient authorship. What rights does copyright give me? And what are my rights as an author of a work? So there are two types of rights under copyright. Economic rights, which allow the rights owner to derive financial reward from the use of their work by others. Second is the moral rights, which protect the non-economic interests of the author. Most copyright laws state that the rights owner has the economic right to authorize or prevent certain uses in relation to a work, or in some cases to receive remuneration for the use of their work. So the economic rights, owner of a work can prohibit or authorize its reproduction in various forms, such as printed, publication, or sound recording, its public performance, such as in play or musical work, its recording, for example, in the form of compact disc or DVD, its broadcasting by radio, cable, or satellite, its translation into other languages. So these are economic rights owner of a work can be prohibited or authorized, that we have seen. Then can I register copyright? In the majority of countries and according to Berne Convention, copyright protection is obtained automatically without the need for registration or other formalities. Most countries nonetheless have system in place to allow for the voluntary registration of work. Such voluntary registration system can help solve disputes over ownership or creation, as well as facilitate financial transactions, sales, and the assignment or the transfer of rights. So this is all about the copyright. Now next point is, as far as IPR is concerned, is the royalty. Now royalty is a payable by user to the owner of the property or something on which an owner has special right. Royalty agreement is prepared between the owner and the use of such property or rights. If payment is made to purchase the right on property, that will be treated as a capital expenditure instead of a royalty. Now, as I mentioned just now, one example that I have quoted when it comes to any researcher who has filed a patent, and if that patent is useful for some industry, then that patent can be sold to that industry, and it could be normally that patent is nothing but a prototype finally being converted into product, and that product can be sold into the market. Now, in this case, particularly a researcher either can sold a complete product to industry, or even a researcher can think of having a royalty as far as product is concerned, as far as the patent is concerned. So instead of selling that particular product, maybe sharing on the basis of percentage. If these many quantities, for example, at 1,000 or 10,000 product is being allowed to produce in a company, then there could be some percentage of amount as a royalty may be taken by the owner of the patent, and that is what also another possibility as far as the researchers is concerned, and that is what we are saying as far as the royalty is concerned. How royalty works? So royalty fees and payment amount can be set in a variety of ways. For example, in a franchisee situation, fees can be set as a fixed or variable percentage of gross sales. In many cases, there is a minimum royalty. Some common forms of royalty payments include royalties for a specific product like a book, a piece of music, a patented product, or a consent are generally based on the number of units sold. As I just now mentioned, royalties for oil, gas and mineral properties may be based on either revenue or on units such as barrels of oils or tons of coals. A variable percentage is often used for newly created IP. In this case, the royalty percentage might be small in the beginning as sales are low. Then as the sales increases, the royalty percentage might increase to a maximum amount. Some royalties are paid for public licenses. The Copyright Office collects royalty fees from cable operators, retransmitting TV and radio broadcasts, satellite carriers, retransmitting network and non-network signals, importers or manufacturers distributing digital audio recording products. So these are the ways by which the royalties are being taken. Then what are the types of royalties? There are following types of royalties. Copyright is one. Copyright provides a legal right to the author of his book, for example, the photographer on his photographs, or any such kind of intellectual works. Copyright royalty is payable by the publisher, lessee of a book, to the author, lessor of that book, or to the photographer based on the sale made by the publisher. Mining royalty, lessee of a mine or quarry pays royalty to a lessor of the mine or quarry, which is generally based on the output basis. Patent royalty is paid by the lessee to a lessor on the basis of output or production of the respective goods. Now, next is the trademark. After royalty, we are going to see the trademark. That could be the last point of the second major subpoint. A trademark is a sign capable of distinguishing the goods or services of one enterprise from those of other enterprises. Trademarks are protected by intellectual property rights. How can I protect my trademark? So at the national or regional level, trademark protection can be obtained through registration by filling an application for registration with the national or regional trademark office and paying the required fees. At the international level, you have two options. Either you can file a trademark application with the trademark office of each country in which you are seeking protection, or you can use WIPO Madrid system. This WIPO nothing but World Intellectual Property Organization Madrid system. So trademark could be of regional level, or it could be at national level, or even it could be at international level. Now it depends which kind of trademark that I want. If my product, if it is to be sold at the regional level only, then it is better to get registered that particular product as a trademark for regional level office. If it is at national level, then definitely it should get registered as a trademark for the national level. And if the product is going to be sold at the international level, or maybe for some of the countries, if it is going to be sold, then we have to reach to those many countries, and to get registered that trademark for those many countries, then only we can get a registered trademark for a particular product. Now, we are very much familiar as far as the trademark is concerned. There are so many companies, those who are having their trademark, and normally I hope that most of the audience is maybe familiar on the trademark or the brand in which it is written. TM is the sign which is being written on the top of the particular logo. That is what, if it is being written as a TM, then it is a trademark being registered. Or sometimes even it is written that in circle, the capital letter R, which is being used, that is also a registered trademark which is being used. So, and it is being registered to the government authorities. then what rights does trademark registration provide? Now, once we register, so what rights that I'm going to get after registering that logo as a trademark? So in principle, a trademark registration will confirm an exclusive right to the use of the registered trademark. This implies that a trademark can be exclusively used by its owner or licensed to another party for use in return for payment. Registration provides legal certainty and reinforces the position of the right holder, for example, in case of litigation. How long does trademark protection last? The term of trademark registration can vary, but is usually 10 years. It can be renewed indefinitely on payment of additional fees. Trademark rights are private rights and protection is enforced through court orders. Now, what kind of trademarks can be registered? A word or a combination of words, letters, and numerals can perfect constitute a trademark. But trademark may also consist of drawing, symbols, three-dimensional features, such as the shape and packaging of goods, non-visible signs, such as sounds or fragrances, or color shades used as distinguishing features. The possibilities are almost limitless. So these are some of the examples which I have narrated as far as the registration of trademark, but the possibilities are limitless. We can, if we think and if we can properly define it, then we can register it as a trademark. So this is what, as I mentioned, is the last point as for the second major point as a IPR. First, we have seen the stakeholder and the ethical issues related to the stakeholder. Then we have seen the second part as far as the IPR, and now the last part is the publishing. And the point which is going to cover under the heading of publishing is design of a research paper, citation, acknowledgement, plagiarism tools, research matrices, reproducibility, and accountability. So as far as, if you could see that there are total 6 points, design of a research paper. I hope that most of you may be familiar how to write the paper and being covered in most of the other sessions also. Citation is again important thing when it comes to, because some people may be exactly aware of what is citation, but some may be confused what exactly the citation, acknowledgement, and the plagiarism tools is very important when it comes to the research. Without plagiarism tools, we cannot go ahead with research. And the most important is the research matrices. I still feel that research matrices, sometimes it is clear and sometimes it is not clear. Again, it varies from journals, publications, and a different kind of research. And the last is reproducibility and accountability. So we will see one by one. First, as far as the research, designing of research paper. So writing a research paper is an important and performing the actual research or experimental itself and can appear to be a very daunting task. I have used the word daunting task. It is just not as easy task. Writing a, even see, most of the times I have seen, as far as the faculty is concerned, even if we are being asked to write even an article or even writing a news for a paper for which the event is being handled or event is being done in the institute, writing news also is a difficult task. So definitely writing a research paper is a daunting task, and that's why it is to be taken at seriously. So the very first point, layout and length and basic structure. So for most assessed report, you will be told how long it should be, generally by the number of words. This is generally only a guide. In most cases, this limit does not include appendix and citation pages. If you plan to write for a specific journal, a good advice is to check the research paper outline of some of the articles to get a better idea on how to write your article. Now see, writing a research article or research paper, again, it depends for which journal you are writing, because most of the journals nowadays, if you could see, they are providing the guidelines for writing the paper. And if you are considering a specific journal, then we have to follow the guidelines which is being provided by a specific journal, and those guidelines are to be specifically followed. Then only it will be easier for your paper to get accepted into the journal in which you are submitting. Otherwise, if you doesn't follow the guidelines, then definitely it is going to get rejected at the very first step, because altogether nobody is there to take care of all those things, to do the things in a proper way and to get published. So here are few outline samples. Your report can be shorter than the advised word limit if everything that needs to be included is there. For longer report, it is useful to break each section down into subsection to make your report more reader friendly and easier to navigate. So here we can see that what are the contents as far as research paper is concerned. So I hope that most of us are familiar. The very first thing is the title. Then we used to write the author's name below the title. Then there should be abstract. Then there should be a table of content. Then there should be, first point could be introduction, related work, equipment and methodology, result and discussion, conclusion, references and citation, and at the last, if it is required to be supported by appendix, then appendix has to be there. So these are the standard structure normally being followed. And now this is the structure, if you could see, most of the journals or most of the conferences, they are following for writing the papers. So even if we write the papers by following this structure, it could easily get converted as far as the requirement of any new journal or in any new conference as and when it is going to declare or it is going to be available. So if we follow this standard structure, even the paper could be prepared within a day or two in a required format as far as the appropriate journal or appropriate conferences. So here we can see what includes title and authors. Most research establishments have a database to search titles by keywords. So try to make sure that your title contains these. Now see how much focus is to be given as far as the title is concerned. Because as I mentioned, even writing an article or writing a news for a newspaper, and if you have been asked to decide a title for that news, it takes its own time. But when we are writing a news for a newspaper, it takes its own time. So definitely, when we are writing a research paper for a specific journal or for a conference, it has to be given a sufficient time. And rather, a proper title is to be suggested. Now, there are so many things while defining a title. The title should have the keywords, because once you publish your paper and your paper is supposed to be used by some new researchers, then your title should have such type of keywords which will be useful for the new researchers when they are going to do the research in future. So many things are supposed to be taken into consideration while defining the title also. But as a fresh or new researchers, it takes its own time, and that's why the guidance or the supervisors are required for research scholars, because they are through with the experiences. They have defined so many papers, they have designed so many papers, gone through so many titles, and then taking a decision on designing a titles itself is very important steps, the very first step. Otherwise, on the basis of title also, it could be possible that your paper may get accepted or may get rejected. So this is very important step. So the author section should include your name as the main or writer of the report alongside the name of your supervisor. In the case of working as a part of a team, you should usually include the other members of a group here. Now the next is abstract. Abstract is also important aspect. Now, while they again most I have, even when I did my research, writing abstract is what very much difficult. But over a period of time, then realize what is exactly the abstract. And I hope that most of the participants, those who are attending this particular session, may be familiar with the abstract, because some journals or some conferences initially they just ask you to submit the title and authors and abstract, and on the basis of these three things only they used to accept or reject your paper. Now can we imagine on the basis of abstract how the journals or the manuscript which we have submitted for a particular journal or conference, they are going to accept it or reject it? Because we know that what is the length of the abstract? It could be hardly 1 or 2 paragraphs, maybe 150 to 200 words. And on the basis of 150 and 200 words, they are going to accept it or reject it. So what does it mean? That the whole paper which we have written is to be considered, is to be defined as a crux for the abstract. Now see what word I am using. As a crux of a paper is to be defined in terms of abstract. Now, when we are saying as a crux of a paper to be defined in terms of abstract, so everything means from the first section to last section, whatever we are doing in a paper, that should get included into the abstract. And if it is included into the abstract, then only there is a possibility of chances or possibility of acceptance of paper either into conference or any journal. So that is what the important role of abstract. Now, abstract is the most crucial part of the report because anybody searching for your research on a database or in a journal will usually read only the abstract. Therefore, it must summarize your research results and conclusion in less than 200 words. It should inform the researcher that your article contains the information they need. There are few ideas on how to write your abstract, but the best advice is that you look at some journals relevant to your research and try to format your abstract in a similar way. Then the next is content. This section and is merely a breakdown of sections and subsection by page number. This is not mandatory for research paper. Introduction is the first section. So this section of your report is where you will document all the painstaking research into the background of your experiment. The main thing to bear in mind when writing the introduction is that a scientist who is unfamiliar with your exact subject matter may be reading the article. It is important, therefore, to try and give a quick and condensed history of the research leading to your experiment with correct citations. You should also give a little background on why you choose to do this particular experiment and what you expect to find. Then related work. A related work section is essential to most research articles. A fundamental contribution in methods, papers, and methodological novelty, and editors will commonly ask how the methods in question differs from an already published method. A well-written written work section will enable reviewer to confidently answer this question. Then the next is method or the procedure. For this portion of your report, you must describe the methods used when performing the experiment. This should include, if relevant, the location and times of sample collection, what equipment was utilized, and the techniques used. The idea behind the methodology section is that another researcher can exactly replicate your experiment without having to guess what equipment and what techniques should be used. And the next section is the result. This should be quick synopsis of the facts, figures, and statistical tests used to arrive at your final result. Insert most of your raw data into the appendix. It is far better to stick with including only tables and graphs that shows clearly the result. Try to avoid putting in tables and graphs showing the same information. Figures and graphs should be clear and occupy at least half a page. All such information must be numbered as diagrams for graphs and illustration and figures for tables. The result section of your report should be neutral and you should avoid discussing your results or how they differed from or compared with what was expected. Next is after result, there should be discussion based on the result. So this is pivotal section of your hard work is obtaining and analyzing your result. In a nutshell, you are trying to show whether your hypothesis was proved or not, or inclusive or inconclusive. Finally, you can discuss at the end idea for further research, either refining the experiment or suggesting the new idea. The next section is summary and conclusion. This is really just a more elaborate version of the abstract. In few paragraphs, you should summarize your finding. Your abstract will do most of this for you, but as long as you do not get carried away, especially for longer report, it can help the reader absorb your finding a little more. And the next is references. Include all your direct references here, even if you only found a couple of sentences. In the case where somebody referred to an original source, reference that too. But if you did not manage it to get hold of it, try to rewrite so that you will not have to reference or use referred in citation. Next section is the acknowledgement. This is again an important section. Most of the times it is getting forgotten to include, but what I feel is that again it is related to the ethical issues as far as the researchers is concerned. If you doesn't acknowledge the people for you are using, then it is unethical practices. So here it is polite to acknowledge anybody who helped you with this report. Your supervisor is a good start as well as others who helped. if a landowner gave you permission to take samples, then it is a good practice to acknowledge them and give them a summary of your results if permitted. Most of the times, if we take the funding from any organization, now maybe of our own organization, then it is to be acknowledged. It should be there. Then the last section is the appendix. Appendices are very useful because they give you a place to dump raw data and conclusions. They must still be laid out correctly. The data must be relevant and referred to in the main report. If you have a lot of relevant photographs of sample sites and methods, then they belong here. It is also useful to insert a Google map plan to show from where you took samples. So here we can see that these are the sections which we have seen for as far as the paper is concerned. From the beginning, title, author, substract, table of content, introduction. Then we have seen related work, equipment and methodology, result and discussion, conclusion, references and citations, and appendices. Now this we have covered within hardly 5 to 10 minutes, but it itself is a session can be conducted for 1 hour in detail. But here I am going to cover in short. I am hoping also that most of us you are knowing, but even if you go through this minimum details, then also it is to be understood. Then the next is the citation. Citation is the way you tell your readers that certain material in your work came from another source. It also gives your readers the information necessary to find the source again, including. Now, citation, see, again, it comes under the researcher's ethical practices. If we are using someone else's material or some information from some sources or some funding organizations, then it is to be included. That citation has to be there. Even if it is being mentioned, even if we are using some single sentence also or some paragraph, if it is being used, then it is to be cited that this is a source which is being used from so and so papers or so and so material, and to be cited properly in our work. So information about the author, the title of the work, the name and location of the company that published your copy of the source, the date of your copy was published, the page numbers of the material you are borrowing. All this information to be included in the citation. When do I need to cite? Whenever you borrow words or ideas, you need to acknowledge their source. The following situation almost always require citation. Whenever we use quotes, whenever we use paraphrase, whenever we use an idea that someone else has already expressed, whenever we make specific reference to the work of another, whenever someone else's work has been critical in developing your idea, in all these situations, the citation is to be there. Commonly used citation style. Now, what are the citation style again? So while writing the paper, again, we have to be concentrated on what are the citation styles that we have to use while writing the citation into our paper. So the citation style, also known as documentation style or bibliographic style, commonly used by college students are MLA, APA, Chicago, and CSE. We will see one by one what is MLA, APA, Chicago, and CSE. Each citation style is associated with different discipline. MLA is nothing but Modern Languages Association. Style is associated with the humanities, languages, literature, philosophy, religion, and the arts. Then APA is American Physiological Association. Style is associated with the social science, physiology and behavioral science, education, sociology, anthropology, business, economical, political science, and criminal justice. Chicago is associated primarily with history, but it's sometimes used in other humanities and a social science field. Caribbean is a variation of Chicago style intended for student writers. CSE is nothing but the Council of Science Editors. Style is associated with natural sciences. So there are so many citation styles that we have to use. In the majority of research paper, acknowledgement relates to the part of research project where author shows gratitude. Now, this is what related to the acknowledgement. As I mentioned, it is equally important when it comes to the researcher as ethical practice. So in the majority of research paper, acknowledgement relates to the part of research project where author shows gratitude to the people who contributed to the research project. Acknowledgements give you an opportunity to thank all those who have helped in carrying out the research. It is expected that appreciation is given in a concise manner without strong emotive language. Now, most of the times, the researchers are going to forget, and this is very important section when it comes to the research. How long should acknowledgement be in the research paper? In general, it is acceptable to have 1 page long acknowledgement. In general articles, there may be a short note indicating gratitude to those who have been of help. Acknowledgement page in books or dissertations will sometimes be considerably longer. Most publishers have guidelines and standards in place governing acknowledgements. Where to put acknowledgement in research paper? A page of acknowledgement is usually included at the beginning of the project, immediately after the table of content. However, we noted that in general article, authors tend to place acknowledgement on the end of paper. Can you use the first person in the acknowledgement in research? The answer is yes. Even though the first person is not used in academic research paper, you can use it in the acknowledgement section. This is part where you can express in the first person, while in the rest of the papers would address yourself in the third person. So this is what the difference between the two. See, whole paper when we are defining, we normally used to define not as a first person, but acknowledgement is a direct connection between one to one. So it can be expressed in the form of first person. Now coming to the last topic, that is what the plagiarism. So plagiarism is a representation of another author language, thoughts, ideas, or expression as one of own original work. So here we can see that the common types of plagiarism, there are different types of plagiarism and all are serious violation of academic honesty. Now, what could be the types of plagiarism? Complete plagiarism, source-based plagiarism, direct plagiarism, self or auto plagiarism, paraphrasing plagiarism, inaccurate authorship, mosaic plagiarism, accidental plagiarism. Now, what are these common types of plagiarism? Complete plagiarism. Complete plagiarism means exact copy of manuscript or study that has been created by someone. It is the severe form of plagiarism. Source-based plagiarism, plagiarism that occurs due to sources is referred as source-based plagiarism. For example, inaccurate references or sources mentioned by author which are not actually existing. Direct plagiarism, without attribution, copying text from another document leads to direct plagiarism. Self or auto plagiarism, this will occur when the noteworthy portions of someone's work was reused without any attribution. Then paraphrasing plagiarism. Paraphrasing plagiarism means making small changes in the sentences of someone, writing and use it under his or her name. Inaccurate authorship, it may happen in two ways. Person who contributes to manuscript without getting credits for his or her work. Second could be person who got credits without contributing to the manuscript. Then the next is mosaic plagiarism, interlace other texts or phrases in its own research. Accidental plagiarism, plagiarism which happens unintentionally, is called accidental plagiarism. Now, how to avoid the plagiarism? Most people do not deliberately commit plagiarism. Usually it results from procrastination, incomplete understanding of original material, citation errors, and poor note taking. Now, what is avoiding plagiarism? Procrastination, filling in page numbers, making footnotes, or making a work cited page or bibliography after you have finished writing often leads to inadvertent or miscitation or omissions. Incomplete understanding of original material. As a general rule, if you cannot restate the main idea of a passage in your own words without referring to original source, then you should not use this source for your own work. Citation errors. Common errors that lead to accidental plagiarism include using words or passages from the original source without using quotation marks and or without citing the source, using different citation formats within the same assignment or using a citation format incorrect. Poor note taking. Inexperienced students often forget to put quotation marks around notes taken directly from text or find that their notes are disorganized. As a result, they cannot tell which notes come from which source when they are in the stages of writing of their assignment. Some common ways to reduce the plagiarism. Now, if there is a plagiarism, then definitely it is to be reduced or it is to be avoided. So what are the ways by which the plagiarism can reduce or it can be avoided? So acknowledging a person's contribution for his or her works. Reference citation must be provided based on the style manual. Use our own words to frame a sentence during summarization of someone's works. It is also necessary to frame our own syntax. We must express our own ideas in our own words to avoid plagiarism. We must ensure that meaning of the other author work should not be changed while using our own words to be frame the sentences. Better understanding of concepts and usage of proper language must be needed to write good paraphrase. Now, what are the tools which is there as far as to avoid the plagiarism? Now, here we can see that the plagiarism tools, they are being categorized into two types. One is free plagiarism checker tools, and the second is commercial plagiarism softwares. So free plagiarism checker tools, we can see that the QTex, Plagion, small SEO tools, pre-post SEO, Dupli checker, all these are there. And if we see commercial plagiarism software, then we can see that the Turnitin is there, Authenticate is there, and Urkund is there. But when it comes to the free plagiarism tools, it doesn't support to your complete manuscript or complete thesis when it comes to checking, or even it may not lead to the proper plagiarism checking. So definitely, if we are writing some manuscript or writing some thesis, or maybe a dissertation report, then we have to go for commercial plagiarism softwares, then only the proper checking. And it is also most of the journals and conferences, they used to mention that what is the tolerance limit as far as the plagiarism is there. Mostly it is 5% and 10% is allowed. At the max, I have seen it could be a 15%. But it should be less than 5% if you would like to submit a manuscript to some journals or some conference, or if you are submitting a thesis, then it should be less than 5%. So if we have to reduce the plagiarism up to that level, then in that case, we have to go for the commercial plagiarism softwares. So I'm not going into the details of all these plagiarism software. I will provide this presentation to the organizers, and it can be shared to the participant. But the most important thing is that we have to see the matrices. That is what very important when it comes to writing a manuscript for any journals or conferences. What is matrices? Now, if you could see that there are three factors which is being mentioned on the slide. First is impact factor, and then H index and I10 index. So these are the three things which I have covered as far as the matrices is concerned. Now, what is impact factor? Impact factor or general impact factor of an academic journal is assigned to matrix index calculated by Clarivate that reflects the yearly average number of citations that article published in the last 2 years in a given journal. Now, how the calculation is going to make? In a given year, the 2-year journal impact factor is the ratio between the number of citations received in that year for publication in the journal that were published in the 2 preceding years and the total number of citable items published in that journal during the 2 preceding years. Now, here we will see this is what the impact factor of journal for a current year, and is equal to the citation, how many citations that has been made for that particular manuscript or journals also. It depends. There could be a citation for manuscript, there could be a citation for a paper, there could be a citation for journal also. So if you would like to find out the citation of journal, then it could be a citation of journal, what is there. And then here we could see that the citation of that year divided by publications of previous year plus publication of previous to previous year. For example, Natural Journal had an impact factor of 41.577 in 2017. So how it is being calculated? Impact factor, citation 2017, that is what the current year, and then publication the previous year and the previous to previous year. So publication 2016 plus publication 2015. So here we can see that the citation 2017 is 74,990 divided by publication 2016 880 plus 902, and finally the impact factor of that journal will be 41.577. So the value of impact factor depends on how to define citation and publications. The latter are often to refer as citable items. Publications are items that are classed as article, review, or proceeding paper in the Web of Science database. Other items like editorial corrections, notes, reaction, and discussions are excluded. So what are the things are being considered into the publications? That is nothing but the article, review, or proceeding paper. Whereas these are the things are being excluded when it comes to the Web of Science database. The items which is being excluded is editorial, corrections, notes, retraction, and discussions are excluded. The impact factor used to compare different journals within a certain field. The Web of Science indexes more than 11,500 science and social science journals. General impact factor are often used to evaluate the merit of individual articles and individual researchers. So general impact factor, what is the purpose of that impact factor is to evaluate the value of a particular research paper or a particular researcher. So that is going to be defined on the basis of the impact factor which a researcher paper has got, and it depends upon it. Now, next is the H index. First, we have seen the impact factor as far as the matrices is concerned. Second is the H index. The H index is an author level metric that measures both productivity and citation impact of the publication of a scientist or a scholar. The index is based on the set of the scientist's most cited papers and the number of citations that they have received in other publications. The index is sometimes called the Hirsch index or Hirsch number. The H index is defined as the maximum value of H such that the given authors or journal has published H papers that have each been cited at least H times. The index is designed to improve upon simpler measures such as total number of citations or publications. Now here we will see the calculation how the H index is going to be calculated. Formally, if F is the function that corresponds to the number of citations for each publication, we compute the H index as follows. First, we order the values of F from largest to lowest value. Then we look at for the last position in which F is greater than or equal to the position. We call H this position. For example, if we have researcher with 5 publication A, B, C, D, E with 10, 8, 5, 4, 3 citation respectively, the H index is equal to 4 because the fourth publication has 4 citation and the fifth has only 3. In contrast, if the same publications have 25, 8, 5, 3, 3, then the index is 3. That is the third position because the fourth paper has only 3 citations. So here we can see that as above mentioned, the first is 10, 8, 5, 4, 3, and here the H index is 4. The reason is that the fourth publication has 4 citations and the fifth has only 3. Then in the next case, if you could see here 25, 8, 5, 3, 3, and in this case, the H index is 3 because the fourth paper has only 3 citations. If we have the function F ordered in decreasing order from the largest value to the lowest one, we can compute the H index as follows. H index F is equal to maximum of I lies in n from f of I greater than equal to I. Then his intended the H index to address the main disadvantages of other bibliometric indicators such as total number of papers or total number of citations. Now another matrix which is being used by the Google Scholar is the I10 index. This matrix is created by Google Scholar and can only be found when an author has created a public profile. The I10 index is the number of publications with at least 10 citations. It was introduced in the July 2011 by Google as a part of their work on Google Scholar. Now coming to the reproducibility, that is the last point, reproducibility and accountability. It means that result obtained by an experiment or observational study should be achieved again with a high degree of agreement when the study is replicated with the same methodology by different researchers. Only after one of several such successful replications should be recognized as a scientific knowledge. 3 terms related to the reproducibility are there. Method could be reproduced, result could be reproduced, or inferential reproducibility. So inferential reproducibility means what? The knowledge which is getting derived from the research, it could be reproduced in the form of study replication or reanalysis. Then the next term is the accountability. Accountability in research or research accountability as general terms may thus refer to a range of concern and practices related to philosophies, policies, system, procedure, and standards for analyzing, promoting ethical conduct in research. Moeller quoted that accountability, it is not for what we do that we are held responsible, but also for what we do not do. Accountability plays a strategic role for the sustainable development of human being in the emerging epoch of globalization. Webster Dictionary defines accountability has four pillars: responsibility, answerability, trustworthiness, and liability. So when we are doing any research, we are responsible for that. We should be in a position to answer for that. And whatever research and whatever result that we do have, it should have trustworthiness. There should be a faithfulness, and finally, all the liabilities which is lying with that research, it should be agreed by a researcher. The four pillars of accountability explain that what and where we are. We have to contribute or perform our role, what society are paying us, whether it is in the form of money, time, or manpower. Policies and quality assurance is devoted to the examination and critical analysis of system for maximizing integrity in the product of research. It provides an interdisciplinary international forum for the development of new procedures, standards, and policies to encourage the ethical conduct of research for enhancing the validity of research result. The journal publishes original empirical, methodological, policy, and theoretical papers, case studies, conference reports, and book reviews that address issues of integrity and accountability in research. Book reviews are published periodically on topics relevant to the journal scope. Accountability in research seeks to serve a broad range of scientists and administrators in academia, industry, and government. While relevant to any discipline, the journal focuses in a particular on biotechnology, chemistry, medicine, pharmacology, toxicology, pathology, environmental science, and clinical trials. So this is what all about. Finally, these are the references which is there. Thank you. With this, I would like to show some matrices.
Thank you, sir.
Just a minute, give me a few seconds as we are talking about the matrices. So here we can, I can show, I hope that this screen is visible, Google Scholar.
No, sir. Screen is not visible.
Not visible, just a minute.
No.
Now it is visible.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yeah. So here we can see that I have talked about the matrices of papers and manuscript or the journals. And we have talked about the H index as well as the I-10 index and impact factor, all these things. So this is what here we can see that this is the first paper review of unmanned aircraft system. So here it could be seen that it is being cited by how many future references are 485. So 485 people have used this paper. That is what the citation of this particular paper. And finally, here we can observe as far as the Google Scholar is concerned, these are the citations total 940 and H index is 9, I-10 index is 8. So as we have defined the value of H index, it is how many people are seeing this particular citation. If go through this value and the calculation which is being done as far as H index is there, here we can observe. And the second parameter of interest, that is what I-10 index. So here the value is 8. What does it reflect? How many papers are being 2-digit cited? That is why it is being called as the I-10 index. So here we can see that total are 8. And that's why the matrices is showing that 8. So ultimately, any researchers or any person who is doing a research and writing a manuscript and paper, they are going to get evaluated by this matrices. And their image, a person image is going to get created with the help of this matrices. So that is what in brief, I can elaborate this, and I hope that it is clearly understood. With this, I thank for the organization.
Thank you, sir. Now I request all the participants, if they having any query, doubt, they can write in the chat box.
The session is open for discussion or any query. If it is there, anybody can ask.
Sir, excuse me. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I am Dr. Swami.
Yeah.
Sir, I have one doubt. Actually, what is the efficiency of what you call free plagiarism tools when compared to commercial plagiarism tools? Can we rely on free plagiarism tools as you described?
So that is what I said, sir, in the session itself. We cannot rely on the free plagiarism tool, and even it is restricted. When we are using a free plagiarism tool, if our manuscript, for example, if it is of 15 page or 10 page, or if we are evaluating the thesis from the plagiarism tool, they may restrict us for a certain number of pages, and
Okay,
even
okay.
the reliability is less.
Okay,
That's
okay,
why we have to go for the commercial only.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sir,
Sir,
one more thing
can I-
is,
Yes.
sir, one more thing is, while using Tanakini software and what do you call, I have conducted test, but actually it is showing a number of sources, but it is very difficult for me to find the suitable source as per the what do you call, software level.
Okay.
How can I identify the exact sources? But whatever the sources I had, I have included. But actually, still it is showing the plagiarized content. That means I have not what do you call, identified the exact sources of my article.
Okay, okay. So when you are checking your article through that tool, it is showing the linking also for a plagiarism where the sources and are there as far as the
Yes,
citation
yes,
is.
sir. Yes, sir.
As far as citation is concerned. So that we have to identify and see ultimately when we are writing our manuscript, that is what, whenever we find that if something is as a plagiarism, so we have to
Okay.
convert that into our own description. Either you
Okay,
change the
okay.
language, or you modify the content, or you explain the same thing in your own words. So normally, see, it is a tool. Basically, it is a software tool, and
Yes, sir.
some functionalities which is being defined as far as the tool is concerned. A word
Yes,
is
sir.
there, so if it is being matched with the similar word, so it is going to detect as a plagiarism. So in that case, we have to see that what could be the alternative, what could, and ultimately see a human being can think of all these things, whereas the tool cannot think of all these things.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we have
Yes.
to play ultimately our own role in this case.
Okay, 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 okay.
Sir,
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Priyanka here.
Yeah.
Sir, as you had told in last slide that H index, I-10 index,
Yeah.
we measure. I have also some papers. So how can I get this one? From where I can get this information?
Are you
Where I have to go?
just okay? Continue.
Where I have to go and find that H index and I-10 index of myself?
I will suggest you one thing. Are you registered for Google Scholar?
No, till not I had not
So
registered.
what I will suggest you to get registered to the Google Scholar, insert your all papers into the Google Scholar, submit it, and automatically it will generate.
Okay, okay. Sir.
Because see, unless it's very simple. If we doesn't market ourselves, you are not going to get popularized.
Yes.
What I mean to say, I hope that you understood. So first of all, what you have to do, you have to create your profile. You have to submit your papers, and if your papers is available, see, in either of the, it should be available in online form. Because see, more even if you are doing the research, you refer the paper from online only, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So in the similar fashion, when other researchers is also referring the paper, they are referring from the online. But if your paper is not available on any online platform, they are not going to get utilized.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if it is available, if you are posting it to some, for example, a Google Scholar, if all the papers are available, then definitely it is going to get cited, it is going to get downloaded, and it is going to get utilized. The moment when it is going to get utilized, and if it is getting cited, it is going to increase the H index, it is going to increase I-10 index. Otherwise, it will never. I hope that the query is clear.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So the Google Scholar can get the research paper as well as chat chapters also for the reference, no?
Yes, yes, everything, you can include everything.
Okay, okay, sir.
Even,
Thanks a lot.
even this is one example which I have shown. There could be a possibility of Web of Science. They also have ResearchGate is also another option where, see, as a researcher, I should get registered for all these options. Because some people cite the paper from ResearchGate, some people may cite the paper from Web of Science. If it is already being indexed for Web of Science, definitely that paper will be available to the Web of Science. It is going to get cited. But if it is not being uploaded to the Web of Science, if that paper is not of that Web of Science, then somewhere you have to upload. And that should be available to the future researcher for a reference. If just now you might have been seen, I have shown one paper, which is of mine of 2013. Right now, the citation is 485. It is throughout the world, it is being used, that particular paper.
Yes, yes.
So what it shows that 485 researchers have used that particular paper for their research.
Yes, sir.
So it is in our hand to increase our value.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Professor Nikhilesh Karia from Department of MBA.
Okay.
Sir, my question is how to avoid our self-plagiarism in our research work, because we are mostly familiar with our own style of writing. So most probably there will be a possibility of self-plagiarism in research. So how to avoid it?
See, normally, if you are writing your own manuscript, then there will be a less possibility of chances of plagiarism. As such, which I have seen till my research life. Because if we are writing our own manuscript in our own language, definitely it is going to get differ from other researchers. So there will be a less chances of plagiarism. But the moment when we use some material from other resources, and if we keep it as it is, if it doesn't change the structure of language of that material, then there is a possibility of plagiarism.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So if you are, as you have mentioned, that you are writing your own script or in your own language, so I hope that there will not be any possibility of plagiarism.
I'm talking specially about style of writing. So when we are using our own style of writing in our research paper, almost our contents could be get duplicated as compared to our previous research papers. So there may be possibility that sentence could be get common and
that is there. That is there. If you are,
it could be get even our names could be get plagiarized.
No, name is allowed. Name cannot be considered as a plagiarism, because if the same authors are working in the same domain, then it is allowed. It is that is why the plagiarism tolerance limit is there, and it is being allowed in up to 15%. That is the reason. Otherwise, it should be 0. Yeah. So what exactly in this case, what we are supposed to do? There are some tools which you can use, which is going to convert the language from one form to another form.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Language converter tools are there.
Okay.
Anybody else? Is there any discussion or some queries? If it is there, that I can answer right now, or maybe in future also, you may note down my number, or you can contact, no problem. I hope that now no queries are there. I have tried to cover almost the 5th unit of research methodology over here. As far as Sant Gadge Baba, Amravati University, Amravati, PhD research scholar research methodology paper is there.
Okay. So I hope that all the queries has been resolved by Honorable Sir.
Okay.
If you still find any sort of query, you may send on email as well. As and when sir get the time, we'll respond you accordingly. Ma'am, you can continue.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts and deep knowledge about research, ethics, IPR, and publishing. Your session was full of enthusiasm, valuable knowledge, and new ideas that ignites the mind of all participants. It will be a great pleasure for us to listen to you again in future event. Now, coming towards the end of session, on behalf of R&D Cell, Piyapote Patel College of Engineering and Management, Amravati, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to all those who have directly and indirectly contribute to this session on research, ethics, IPR, and publishing. At the outside, with my whole gratitude, I thank our chief guest and resource person, Dr. A.B. Gadicha sir, on HOD of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. We are thankful to our Honorable Chairman sir and Honorable Director sir of PRPGEI for their inspiration and motivation. I would like to thank our principal and vice principal for their enthusiastic and continuous support. At my heartfelt thanks to all the participants for their active participation in the session. Thank you, sir.
I request all the participants to please mark your attendance and give your valuable feedback. Sir, thank you so much for your kind words regarding the research, methodology, IPR, publication ethics, and excellent towards your researchpreneurship journey. Thank you so much for your valuable time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay, sir. Thank you very much
Thank you, sir.
for
Thank you
giving
so
me an
much.
opportunity to interact these many people. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
May I leave now, sir?
Yes, please, sir. You can, please. Request all the participants, please mark your attendance. Thank you everyone for your valuable presence and have a great day ahead. Thank you.